Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Anxietea, a mental health podcast, where I give you mental health stories, self care tips and techniques, and whatever you all want me to discuss. As a reminder and disclaimer that I am not a mental health professional, just a mental health advocate getting through life one day at a time. Here's also the warning that there may be sensitive topics discussed within this podcast, so please feel free to leave if this does not sound like the podcast for you. That is completely okay and completely valid. So, without further ado, welcome to episode 17. We are finally on episode 17, getting all the way up to 20 pretty soon. So let's grab our tea and take a sip in of some self-love and exhale all of the stresses of life. Today I am drinking raspberry iced tea, and also just letting you all know that if you hear fans in the background, I'm so sorry. It is very hot in my room. It's also very, very hot outside. So, for today's podcast, I'm actually going to share my story regarding my interactions with and my story dealing with loved ones with an addiction disorder. So, I grew up in a household with a lot of addiction disorder, and this is also unprompted, so pardon me for any stuttering that I might have. So I always grew up with loved ones with an addiction disorder, and I never really understood until I was about 10 years old, and then it just really helped me understand the devastation that it causes for not only my loved ones with the addiction disorder, but those around them. It can be a challenge for their relationships and their family and their friends, and again even themselves. And it gets in the way of work, it gets in the way of schooling, it gets in the way of daily tasks and functioning. And since I started to really understand why my loved ones acted the way they did and why they did what they did and why they are the way that they are, it just really put things into perspective for me. And a lot of people think that those with this disease and this illness is bad or like disgusting or wrong for doing what they're doing, and that they chose this life, and that's not really the case. It is genetic, and it's not that they choose to be this way, but those with an addiction disorder typically have innate behaviors that are more easily able to bring out the addiction disorder. For an example, riskiness is a big behavior for people that may have the addiction disorder. Riskiness and forms of lack of judgment, for an example. And just understanding this at a very young age, I got information from my mom and my siblings, friends. I shared with some of my other friends that were going through the same exact situation where their loved ones were also struggling, and I just became more aware. I ended up going to support groups for loved ones that are dealing with other loved ones with addiction, and I would go to rehab support groups to support my family members, and my loved ones have almost died on several occasions, and growing up, I had to witness some of those traumatic experiences, and it just really helped me recognize how strong of a hold these substances have on them and how much society just doesn't realize that. And um, people don't understand what enabling is, and they are unconsciously, not unconsciously, but they don't realize that they could be enabling their friends, their family members, or whoever they're surrounding themselves with. And I mean, people are making money off of other people's addiction, and it just keeps spiraling. I mean, I go to college, and I mean, a lot of the people at college are, in fact, underage. I'm 21 and I'm a senior. And I mean, there are, as soon as you get onto campus, there are billboards everywhere of alcohol advertisements. And that's just really sick that people are trying, like, that big companies are trying to make young people, underage people, hooked. And I mean, these advertisements are, I mean, you may not think that they have that strong of a hold, but whenever you see them every single day, and I mean, it can subconsciously be convincing you, I would say. So, I mean, it's just sick that people are making money off of trying to get underage people just hooked on this. I mean, it's all over the internet, and I mean, cigarette companies are no longer allowed to advertise their product because of how many people have died from it. So, I mean, the same thing with alcohol, and it's just really, really interesting to kind of see that hold. And I spent a lot of my time in life researching this, and I've created ideas of why society is the way that it is with these substances, and a lot of sociological views dealing with addiction. And I mean, some people can drink or do drugs and again not have the addiction disorder, but you don't know if you have it or not until you're hooked on a substance. And I mean, being hooked is what makes people, makes those big companies money. And I mean, I know, like, not all drugs are a part of big name companies, for an example, but I mean, our jails are overcrowded, and I mean, these people are sick and are mentally ill, and they need treatment just like, I mean, just like people with like an anxiety disorder or depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, stuff like that. They need genuine help, not just to be seen as a criminal. So yeah, it just really, I mean, that's just how I started viewing things at a very young age, and I came up with the decision myself to never drink and never smoke, never do any form of drug. Um, yeah, I just became very aware of the consequences and what that could do. And I'm also very aware of enabling. So I really try to be that sober friend or family member or, um, fiance for my fiance. Uh, just being that sober person to really help ground um, any of my loved ones that may be struggling. Because in order to help get better, you need to surround yourself with people that do not partake in those substances. And it's really hard to find nowadays people that do not do anything and are completely sober and don't partake in anything. I have never done um, any of those substances, and I'm completely fine, and I think it actually helped me really understand myself and focus on what really matters and learn how to have fun without, any like being out of control. I don't like feeling out of control. Um, I have my own issues that I have to deal with, and I want to focus on them. Um, I want to focus on them like head first. I'm very determined to better myself in any way that I can possible. I want to be very, very healthy in as best as I can. So, that's my personal choice. Again, I'm not somebody that judges people at all, but I've just seen a lot of traumatic events occur. And that's again just a personal choice, but I never look at people badly for um, for their choice. But it's just more so to make people aware that sometimes it isn't just social, and sometimes it isn't just for, quote unquote, fun. It like sometimes it can really have a hold on somebody, and sometimes it really takes over their life. And for some people, it's like you have to do these substances in order to breathe. It's like a life or death situation. And even with withdrawal symptoms, you get sick, and some people even die from it. So it's just best to be aware, rather than looking down on these people. So um, yeah, so that's my story. There's a little bit more that I want to talk about, but I knew that my loved ones had an addiction. Again, whenever I was 10, I really started understanding. That's when my mom really started talking to me about um, addiction and what it was, really. There were classes in school, of course, and we knew that they were bad and why you shouldn't do it, and that you should say no, but it it didn't put things into perspective. I kind of had to live through these situations in order to understand how traumatic of experiences that they were, in order for me to really stay away. And I I don't think that that is bad for me, because people are like, oh well, if you didn't grow up in that situation, then you would have. But whether that was the case or not, I'm glad that I didn't, because I'm not interested. I'm very interested in being um, in control, and I'm a teacher, and I want to be as good of a role model as I can for my students. And I think that being a good role model is important inside and outside of the classroom, in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, so that's how I knew that my loved ones had an addiction, because I was told, and I was confused about certain behaviors, and then I started understanding why. And I mean, as far as had they shown any sign or behaviors of addiction disorder before the addiction began, yes. I mean, risky tendencies. They were very emotionally unstable. Um, so yeah, pretty much just, I mean, very like um, upset, like other illnesses as well, mentally. And the information that I knew about regarding addiction before it ever impacted me was, again, whatever was given to me in school. I don't really remember, since I mean this impacted me my whole life, whether I knew it or not. Because I would get yelled at a lot, and for no reason, and so I never knew why I was being treated the way I was treated by some of my loved ones, and then I understood why, because certain drugs can make you, or like substances could make you be like seem happier or sleepier or even meaner, and that is the case. So what I knew about addiction basically was whatever was given to us in school. So not much information, just say no and don't do it. um I've been supporting my loved ones with an addiction through being informed, getting as much information and research as possible, being that like sober person, and supporting them through groups. And I've supported businesses, small businesses, dealing with addiction awareness. Um, yeah, and learning not to enable. I think my support has benefited my loved ones by showing that I care, and that I don't view them. Sorry, that was my alarm. That I don't view them negatively. That I'm really just here to help, and I believe in them. I have hope in them that eventually they can overcome this. I just want to be that rock for them. I mean, something I want to be that stable person, essentially, for them. What do I know that triggers them, and how do I try to decrease those triggers while around them? So again, just learning how not to enable them. As far as money, having a lot of money can be very triggering, because they would want to use it or take it and buy it on substances. So I would hide my money. Not really like getting mad. I mean, it is frustrating, but hiding my valuables, that's definitely something. Not partaking in substances, of course, because being around people that are not sober is very triggering. And also, not being like rude or mean to them or yelling at them, being discouraging, that's not my thing. So being very encouraging and helping as much as I can or know how. And in what ways do I notice my loved ones supporting themselves? Whenever they're working or trying as best as they can to remain clean and sober. And I know that they're on the right track when they are working and seem happier. And what people can do to decrease the stigma against addiction, again, like just really being informed and looking at things from another perspective other than your own. I mean, I've looked at so many other perspectives. I mean, the fact is that I lived this, and I know not everybody has lived this, but I mean, it's important whether or not you are in this situation to understand from both both ends of the spectrum, I think is really important. And the advice that I have for those trying to help their loved ones with addiction is to, again, just remain really informed and try to support them. I mean, talk to them, see what would help them, and just try to be there for them. I mean, you're not 100% responsible for them by any means, but if they're a loved one, I think it's important to try to let them know that you're there for them. So, as we complete our journey, I want to wish you all luck on your own individualized journeys and hope that you can find comfort in these videos and knowing that you are not alone. Please share these videos to spread awareness and end the mental health and addiction stigma. For those of you that do watch and support my videos, thank you. It means a lot to know that someone cares about these messages, especially now in a time where we need more love and less hate towards one another. Now that we've completed our 17th journey together, let's take a sip in of some self-love and exhale the stresses of life. Thank you for listening to my story.